The attacks in Orlando were a false flag terror attack. But before the mainstream media takes that out of context, I want to be clear. Our government and the governments of Europe allowed these huge hordes of radical jihadis in, and have even allowed them in without vetting them on record, landing at airports across the country and not even checking their passports, IDs, or visas. Our governments are bringing these people in, and they're allowing them to operate openly in our society so they can attack us and then have our freedoms taken. So radical Islam is real. It's growing like a cancer. They kill each other in their own countries. It is a civil war religion of destabilization and slavery. You can argue what it's been in the past, but it certainly is that today with Saudi Arabia quarterbacking the whole deal. So yes, it's a false flag in that our government let it happen, run by Obama, just like Merkel did in Germany, so they can then say, oh, we've got to pass laws and hate laws banning your speech because you're making the Muslims angry. Or, oh my gosh, we got to pass other hate laws, to deal with right-wingers and stuff. And we need your guns, of course, so you can't protect yourself. So, San Bernardino, all these events, the Major Hassan attack, the government knew at the highest levels and tied the hands of the FBI, the military, and others in every case so they couldn't protect us, so that when the attacks happened, they have an excuse to take more of our freedoms. Yes, the globalists are causing a clash of civilizations. Yes, they funded the Arab Spring. I tried to stop that. Now they've done it. Now we're being hit by the tsunami of the Islamic invasion, and we're being told, submit. I'm not going to submit. I'm going to stand up for freedom. InfoWars.com. Don't tell me that I'm a weirdo because I'm upset about this. I'm just sick of dishonorable trash.
Supreme Cobra Commander!
You're failures! You think I'd sell my family out like you, dirtbag? We have sources in Washington, we have sources in the Pentagon that are trusted and that are patriots. Sources that have helped expose the fact that Obama, through the Muslim Brotherhood, as well as with Hillary, has been aiding and abetting Al-Qaeda, now known as Islamic State, to confuse the public. InfoWars.com has been at the very forefront of breaking this dangerous information in the last 4+ years. And, of course, Cy Hirsch came on earlier this year to thank the broadcast and to concur with our sources and analysis that the Pentagon, namely the Army, for 4 years had been telling Obama we are not going to aid Al-Qaeda/ISIS, we are not going to be their Air Force, and that the Pentagon began feeding intelligence to the Russians, who were already on the ground there, by the way, to stop the Islamic State takeover. Islamic State was allied heavily, of course, and financed by Saudi Arabia, its progenitor, its main backer. NATO, of course, has been backing it. We have the leftist in Europe, Hollande, Merkel backing it heavily. They planned the entire destabilization program starting in Libya. Then it was to move to the east, to its neighbor, Egypt, and then right through up into Turkey, and then into the rest of Europe. They had the UN project headed up by the EU founder, Peter Sutherland, advertised going back 4 years ago that refugees should come to Europe, made the preparations for that, and then had them en masse come in as a time bomb that Saudi Arabia and the leftists can activate anytime they want through the Saudi Arabian command to engage in massive terror attacks all over Europe and the United States. Films, I've written books on it, I've immersed myself in it. I was the first to say 9/11 was a false flag inside job, with our government working with radical Islam to bring in this new class of civilizations. Criminal elements of our government, bare minimum, stood down. So that is a false flag. I put a video out yesterday to bait the media saying, Orlando's a false flag. I said, Orlando's a false flag. Then I said, but before that gets quoted improperly, radical Islam's real. This is a real attack. But Obama opened the borders up knowing these people would attack and brought them in, and has covered up the past jihad attacks at Fort Hood and San Bernardino and in Philadelphia, the Army, Navy, Marine Corps recruiting centers, on and on and on. 12 attacks this year so far they've swept under the rug, exponentially growing in the U.S. alone. So it's a false flag when you open the door. When you know somebody's planning something and you protect them. In fact, that's not even the right term. You could use it. It's somewhat accurate. Stand down is really what we should say. Obama has ordered a stand down, and we have the proof here today. Let these people in, knowing who they are, and let them attack us. But a stand down leads to the false flag. Because if you're behind it, if you're letting it happen, you're now aiding and abetting it. For what reason? The false flag has to have a reason. They're saying, we're coming after your guns.
Her plan is to disarm law-abiding Americans, abolishing the Second Amendment, and leaving only the bad guys and terrorists with guns. No good. Not going to happen, folks. Not going to happen.
Okay, so this guy had a Homeland Security clearance, was doing work bringing refugees in with his uncle, had a gun license, and the FBI had tried to stop him twice but was ordered to stand down by the Justice Department and the State Department that Hillary was running. Hillary's State Department blocked investigation to Orlando Killer's mosque. Further proof Hillary funded the rise of ISIS. And then meanwhile, 20% of her campaign is from the Saudis alone, and her foundation got over $100 million from the Gulf states.
He says.
Immigration is at the center of this presidential campaign. In my first 100 days, I will introduce legislation for comprehensive immigration reform.
We need to tell the truth also about how radical Islam is coming to our shores. And it's coming. With these people, folks, it's coming. We're importing radical Islamic terrorism into the West through a failed immigration system and through an intelligence community held back by our president. Clinton wants to allow radical Islamic terrorists to pour into our country. They enslave women and they murder gays. I don't want them in our country.